set it and make it all good, okay?
Right, okay.
All right, Mr. Potter. Nice to meet you here. Good, good, good. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, John. You've been here with Holophane for a couple months now.
Yeah.
And before that, you have quite some history inside of LEDs for horticulture over here in Europe.
Yeah, so I've been with Holophane since October. And prior to that, I was working for a LED manufacturer, so semiconductor, so a Korean-based manufacturer. And then prior to that, I was working for a UK-based horticultural lighting manufacturer.
Okay, okay.
For a couple of years.
Okay, and a lot of differences from where you're at before to this role?
No, not really. Life's moved on, the world has moved on. Things are very competitive these days, but ultimately the science is the science, and growing crop is growing crop.
Yeah, yeah. What have you learned over the years, right? How long have you done horticulture lighting?
So I first touched in horti probably 15 or so years ago when I worked for Philips.
Wow.
So I was in LED electronics, and Horti LED at Philips at the time was just a venture, so it wasn't what it is today. So that was the first touch. What have I learned? That ultimately, I think horticultural and crop, it's a living organism. It needs light just like humans, and I've always been interested in the science behind how light works with human beings, the benefits it brings us and the pitfalls it brings us. And I think that plants are exactly the same. They need light, it's just a different spectrum, different colour of light.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, it's a lot easier to be able to showcase the effects of light in plants a lot quicker than you can with lights in humans sometimes.
Yeah, and they can't say anything.
Well,
so they can't tell us that they enjoy it or they don't enjoy it. But you know, the science and the welfare and the well-being of the plant, you can see that obviously. You know how good the crop looks, things like that. So yeah, they tell us in different ways, but humans obviously can tell us that they don't like the light that they're sat under.
Yeah, so a light is not essentially a light when it comes to a plant.
No, it's a necessity. So it needs that in order to photosynthesize and to grow and to create whatever it's going to create, whether that be, you know, basil to chrysanthemums to tomatoes.
And John, in your past, you have family in farming or anything in your lineage?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
At all.
Okay. And how far back do you go in your family genealogy?
I think my brother's gone back to around 1700s.
Okay.
So obviously my surname is Potter. So in the UK it's related to pottery. So at some point in the lineage we would have been potters. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, interesting. That's cool. That's cool. So did you ever think that you'd be in horticulture lighting?
No. At the beginning I never thought I'd be in lighting.
Okay. What did you want to be when you got older?
Like most, yeah, probably a spy.
Really? Is that why you're in sales?
No, I was always interested in that sort of thing. I think maybe
James
Bond.
Yeah.
But no, lighting was a little bit by accident. I came to it via electronic components. 26 years ago now.
Okay. So for our audience out there, how does one get involved in the world of electronics?
I started working in electronics via a distributor, so Future Electronics.
Okay.
So they're a global distributor of electronic components.
Okay. And you just applied for a job one day?
And it was just a job at the time for an application, yes. A couple of interviews later, and yeah, here I am.
Okay. Okay. So for any younger generations that might be watching this, what piece of advice could you give them?
I don't know, I'd probably go with something you enjoy.
Yeah.
If you enjoy it, it's not work. And I've been lucky to enjoy what I've done for 20 plus years.
Yeah. So we're here in the United Kingdom today, and we have different challenges over here, and I'm sure a lot of people are interested in just learning about some of those challenges from a grower's perspective. Could you maybe just list some challenges that you see with some of the growers that you're working with?
So practically, one thing, we don't get much sunlight in the UK, so that's obviously an issue. Land mass and space is another issue. We're only a small island, but I suppose one of the biggest today is ultimately the energy. And what's that done to people with commercial glass houses and vertical farming? Obviously, it's quite energy intensive in terms of the requirement for lighting and for HVAC and for all of the other things.
So could you help everyone to kind of understand what that would be per kilowatt hour we might be looking at over here? And I know we're in pounds. So.
Yeah, varies massively. So I don't know, maybe anything from 17, 18 pence if you're at a good deal to maybe 30
per kilowatt hour. Wow, and is that variable or is that a stable rate throughout the day?
No, so some of the utility companies will vary that, especially domestically. So of an evening or when there's not that much, the rate will be lower.
Okay.
And then it'll be higher at peak times.
So are growers monitoring those energy rates and then adjusting the lighting accordingly throughout the day?
I would say that the more switched on of the growers are starting to look at everything. So obviously we can feed back into the grid in the UK.
You cannot?
We can feed back into the grid, even domestic users. We get solar power, solar panels that feed back into the grid if you don't use it all. So a lot of growers now are judging whether or not it's more beneficial to feed that back into the grid or to use that. And really, I say marginal gains is now the game. So every sort of 1 or 2% gains in efficiency or cooling or lighting, whatever it might be, have a big impact on the overall operational costs of a farm.
Now, when we talk about renewable energy sources here, what is most popular for growers?
Solar, but depending on the scale. I understand that some people may need planning. Wind is also another one, but again, it's difficult, especially in the more built-up areas, to get permission to put up a wind turbine. So yes, solar seems to be the best.
Even though it's a little dark here,
even though it's yes. So yeah, I suppose a common fact, we don't need sunlight. We just need light in order to get the solar panels to be working.
There were some calculations I ran, and just roundabout averages, you needed about 3 square feet of solar panels for every square foot that you do need indoors to get the power draw per square meter, say, to your crop.
Right.
And that's, I want to say that was around 100 watts per square meter of installed artificial lighting. 18 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult for places to be completely unrenewable. We do see some establishments working with what's excess from, say, power stations or from that sort of area, where there might be hot air leaving that is just going into the atmosphere, and some people will tap into that, use that. So there's a lot of ways that people are trying to become as
Have you seen any one of these crypto mining operations set up a greenhouse next to it and use that excess heat?
Yeah, we have a couple where they use that, or it might be one instance where they bring CO2 in from a power station and you use the CO2.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a bit of that that's going on. I think it just needs exploring further.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Holophane and maybe a little history, and how does Holophane and Acuity and Brasure all go together? And John, how long have you been on the job, right? So this
3 months. This is
3 months.
This is month 4.
Okay.
So yeah,
so this is the test.
My understanding, Holophane is over 130 years old. It has some patents around using prismatic glass lenses, predominantly in industrial, high bay and street lighting. That's where the business started. I think about 15 or so years ago, it was bought by Acuity Brands and became part of the Acuity Brands lighting. And yeah, we have this manufacturing facility here in Milton Keynes, street lighting, industrial high bay lighting, utility lighting, hopefully soon horticultural lighting.
Yeah. Now, do you think that that's a big decision, a big part of the decision-making process for a grower to know that there's a larger company to be there to support them? Because there's a lot of startups in the horticulture lighting space right now, and these are pretty big investments going into a greenhouse or into your operation, and to think that stability is important for a lot of folks. Just to know that there'll be a company there. Do you think that helps you out a bit?
I think stability, longevity, and a larger company behind a company is crucial. I think there's an awful lot of lighting companies in existence that are maybe less than 2, 3, 4 years old, giving things like warranties beyond 5 years and haven't been in business for that long. I think in the coming years we'll see quite a lot of consolidation, but I think that to understand that a company has been about for over 100 years, is financially stable, I think is a huge decision, a huge support.
All right, now I have a little bit of an interesting spin question for you here. How do you see the United States right now and the presidency and kind of the tariff situation that's going on over there?
No comment.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. It keeps the
suppose,
politics out of it.
I suppose the understanding of it isn't, we see the headlines of, imposing tariffs. I suspect that it will have some impact, but to what impact that will be.
But it's not a worry to any growers over here or on supplies, inputs to the production process?
I don't think so.
No.
Or certainly it isn't something that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's more a topic for conversation than a real concern at the minute.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about Brexit and how that how those market dynamics are put in place? And I think that getting out of the EU might have changed things.
I thought we were keeping politics out of this.
Oh, well.
So that was probably
maybe not. Yeah.
So that was some time ago now. So Brexit probably 5, 6 years ago, from memory. Yeah. And prior to Brexit, we had free trade within Europe, so we could ship product into Europe and receive product from Europe. It was very easy to get around Europe. Since Brexit, that's become slightly more difficult. Certainly for us to export into Europe is now a bigger administrative exercise and isn't as easy as what people believed.
Yeah, I did some tours of some retailers yesterday, and it looked like still the price of produce is still relatively inexpensive, but I did notice that there wasn't a lot on the shelves though.
I would say the UK pays probably the lowest for its food and fresh produce.
Why is
within
that?
Let's say Europe.
Okay.
Again, I would say that's been heavily pushed by the supermarkets, the retailers.
Okay.
They've had a big impact on the cost of food, driving down the cost. So yeah, I think we pay less. I've travelled to Holland and Spain, and they pay more for fresh produce than we do.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. What I noticed when going to the store was that there was not a lot of branded producers. So you didn't see a company's brand out onto the label. It was mostly private labeled under the retailer's brand. And are there any brands, produce brands from the greenhouse perspective that get to sell under their own name in the retailer?
There's got to be one or two, that advertise and stuff, but not many. I'd say the majority of the shopping that's done in a supermarket for things like fresh produce just would come under a bagged product by the name of that supermarket.
Yeah.
Fresh fruit, etc., would be under where it's come from. It wouldn't be, a brand as such that I'm aware of.
Yeah. In the United States, we see a lot of brands on the store shelves, right?
Yeah.
And over here, I really didn't see it at all. I was really surprised by that.
We'll see that for other product, tin product, and
right.
other kind, but no, I think when you look at the fresh produce, fruit, vegetables in our supermarkets, I think, observation is quite true. The majority of it will be packed under the retailer store that you're in.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, I'll keep this short with one last question. You've done a great job so far, by the way. What does the future hold for the horticulture lighting industry?
I believe it's a good future. I believe it's one of the necessities for obviously producing produce. Will I think that CEA or controlled environment agriculture will replace fields? Probably not, but it has a place. It helps with things like food security and stability, and obviously in terms of the sustainability, in terms of miles and green miles. You know, we can produce food in the country where we're consuming the food, and for places like the UK and Northern Europe, lighting is an essential part of that production.
Excellent. Well, they got a good partner in you to support that growth.
I believe so.
All right, John. Appreciate
Thanks very
it.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.